Checking out at work, maybe not physically, but mentally, like clocking out, is not uncommon. And I think it is something that uh, has been an issue over the last several years, especially for those who are in the quiet quitting space or say they don't want to be in the job, like mentally. And I get it, it's tough. But is the idea of checking out at work uh, more common? And honestly, it is. And I think that I'm seeing it more often. And actually, I had a situation about several weeks ago where I had a coworker who did exactly that. And that's exactly what I'm going to talk about in today's video. So, a while back, uh, on a Friday night, because I do work an evening shift, one of my coworkers, he usually covers for one area on Fridays. And basically, here's what happened. He and one of our supervisors, they basically, what they did is they, she asked him to do a task, and it was very simple, but he didn't have a lot of the resources, or he didn't have access to everything that he needed. And so I found it to be a little bit of, you know, kind of a little bit of a limited thing to do. I mean, if he had access to everything, or like with the system or the software, then yeah, he can do it. But the supervisor asked him to do this task, and he didn't have access to the system, but I did. And so the supervisor, when I was walking around, asked me if I can help him out because I had access to uh, the software. I'm like, sure, I can do that. And so a little bit afterwards, he comes over to me, and we're opening up the system, and then I have to open up some database and so forth. And somehow my database system was down, and I couldn't do much. So I was like, okay, well, I guess we can't do anything. So do we hold off on it and pass it on to the next shift, or is there something else that we can do? And then the guy was like, yeah, we'll just pass it on to the next shift. It's Friday night, it's almost 11. We got to start wrapping up and doing end of shift stuff. And then shortly afterwards, he just sits by me and he decides to have a conversation about what I'm going to do for my weekend. It happened to be Mother's Day weekend, and uh, we were talking about like what people do on Mother's Day and so forth. And he talked about his weekend, and he brought up the fact that his own mother passed away about 8 years ago, which it was sad to hear because that was the first time he told me about it. Because I've been working with him for almost 4 years now, and he seemed to be very upset, and he was he seemed a little bit down, and I get it because he's like, that's great that you're gonna see your mom and people are gonna spend time with their mothers, but my mother's no longer here, so it's a little bit of a sad feeling, when I think about that. And then he talked about other things, and he just kept uh, going on and talking about random stuff, and clearly what he was doing is he looked mentally clocked out, and I can feel for him. I mean, it was almost the weekend, even though we had 1 hour left, and he was just out of it. He didn't want to do this simple task. And then what happened next is after he left, he came back to me, and the supervisor came, and she's like, why haven't we done this task? And I told her the system was down and yada yada yada. And then she's like, okay, well, we can work something out. You All you just need to do is just add a discussion to it, and what he can do on his end is he can enter that in, and then we're done. But simply the individual who I was with, uh, he was not up for it, and he got into a little bit of a conflict with the supervisor and had a little bit of an argument. And he seemed very frustrated that he didn't want to do it. And then the supervisor was like, "Hey, Mike, why are you not doing this? Let's talk." And then he looked frustrated. And then he called another supervisor over and they went into the conference room and had a little private discussion. Little bit of a little bit of drama there, but in this case, I feel that not that I want to take sides, but I do like this supervisor. Her name is Rachel, and then the the team lead Mike. They were not in alignment there, and I feel like there were opportunities on both sides, but clearly this is a classic example of someone who didn't want to work. He was mentally checked out, and I don't blame him because he is in a I don't know what he was going through. Maybe he's going through some things right now, or maybe the fact he told me that his mother passed away a long time ago that really hit hard to him. He just wasn't up for it, and I feel for him. So it's something to think about when you think, okay, well, he doesn't want to work and he's out of this and doesn't want to do this anymore. So I feel that in a way, it is not a good way to go out on ending the night and on a good weekend. So it's tough and it's not easy. And so with that, it leads me to the question is being mentally checked out, really the thing to do? And I'm really indifferent on this because I talked about this with our shift manager then that following Monday because he wasn't there that night, and we explained the situation, so forth, and he was like, okay, well, clearly he didn't want to work and so forth, and it didn't work out. So, it's something where he has to uh, he has to be more professional about it, and he has to do his job. And you know, he said the supervisor shouldn't have been pushy as well, but you know, all in all, I didn't like the situation, and not that I want to take sides, but I feel for Mike because he didn't want to do the work. He seemed to be distracted and he was just ready for the weekend. Now, this is something that doesn't happen all the time, but it's something to, at least in my place, but it does happen a lot in other workplaces. And the fact that it happens more often just tells me that people are not happy at the jobs they're at, or they don't want to do the work and they're looking for other alternatives, or maybe they want to do something better. I don't know. But it seems to be that he wanted to uh, go out and about his day, and he just wanted to move on and didn't want to do that task, even though it was simple. So I think it's a clear sign that this is happening more often, and it shows that the workplace is changing and that the modern day workplace is on a big decline and so forth. And so I think it is, in a way, you have to think what else could be better, or can the workplace be improved on? And my simple answer is I don't think so. And if you do that, then, or if you think that you can't do it, then maybe it's time for another path in life or another alternative. Whatever you decide to do, that's up to you. So, but it was something where I wish I could help him out, but I know that he wasn't in a good situation. So I don't know. Maybe I'll open up to him, and maybe we'll become more closer after that. And in fact, we are a little bit more closer now. So because I do enjoy talking to him, and he's a great guy. So, and he definitely I wish him the best and that maybe something better will come along his way. But we'll see. Anyway, that's what I wanted to bring up in today's video, and this is a very common situation in the workplace. And it leads me to thinking, if you're someone who was in that situation or you want to go down a different path in life, then I encourage you to check out my latest ebook called Three Paths, Three Prisons, Freedom or Indentured Servitude. And in this ebook, I go over most uh, some of the most typical paths that young adults take in life early on, and why I think that it doesn't really benefit them as much if they're gonna stay average or be mediocre for the rest of their lives.